A man shot and killed in North York over the weekend. Today, police identify a suspect in the murder. A Canada-wide warrant has been issued for his arrest. Good afternoon. We are getting an update today on that deadly shooting in the area of Victoria Park and Shepherd Avenue East late Saturday.
A 34-year-old Toronto man is wanted for first-degree murder. CTV's Allison Hurst is live at Toronto Police Headquarters with the details. Allison.
Nathan, police would not confirm whether or not this was a targeted shooting, though they did say that the suspect exited his vehicle at some point during the incident and that there was some sort of familiarity between the two. This is the man police are looking for, 34-year-old Meelad Tarin from Toronto. Investigators allege he is the suspect in a deadly shooting over the weekend that killed 43-year-old Pauline Harusha.
The nature of the relationship between Mr. Harusha and Mr. Tarin is still under investigation. We are actively investigating what that relationship is. I can tell you that there was some familiarity between the two of them, but beyond that, I'd be speculating at this point.
Harusha was shot inside his vehicle Saturday night just before midnight. 6 bullet holes could be seen in the driver's side window.
Mr. Harusha has a family that is devastated. He has friends. The loss has left a hole in this family, and one of the reasons we're here today, in addition to making you aware of Mr. Tarin's involvement, is to support the family and to let them know that we are here to seek justice for Mr. Harusha.
It happened in the area of Victoria Park Avenue and the 401, waking neighbors up to the sound of gunshots.
I'm not sure about 3, 4, 5, I don't know. I don't know about it. I was sleepy.
Police say a light-colored SUV was seen fleeing before police arrived. When officers got there, they attempted life-saving measures, but Harusha died.
To Meelad Tarin, I have a message for you. Seek counsel and turn yourself in. If you know where Mr. Tarin is and are found to be harboring or aiding him in any way, be assured we will investigate and lay charges as appropriate.
Police would not comment on any criminal history for either Tarin or Harusha. Police say they're not looking for any other suspects, and there's no evidence suggesting that Tarin has left the jurisdiction. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Allison. A woman is recovering after being shot outside of a Scarborough housing complex. CP24's Courtney Heels has more now from the scene near McCowan and Eglinton.
This shooting happened in a residential area. There are a lot of families who live along this stretch of road. A lot of kids were on their way to school this morning wondering what happened. This call came in at about 11 o'clock last night. We're standing in front of the townhouse complex where police say the shooting happened. They say it happened outside. The victim is a woman in her 20s. She was rushed to hospital with serious injuries. Now police are trying to figure out exactly what happened, whether there was some sort of gathering here, whether the woman was walking on the sidewalk. We just don't know. This is a very active investigation at this point. We've been talking to residents who live around here, many of them talking about how shocked they are with all of this. We also talked to a man who said he heard the shots overnight. He just wasn't clear what it was. Here's more.
I didn't know what was happening, but it just sounded like gunshots to me, so I asked the police to come out and take a look around the area to see, because we have a school back there and it's not very well lit in the fire route area and in the back of the school, so it's hard to tell where it's coming from.
Investigators were on scene overnight looking for evidence, speaking with residents. They had all of McCowan Road shut off as part of this investigation. They were also going around with metal detectors at one point, likely looking for any shell casings. Now the focus is on getting more information from witnesses, from people who live in the area. Maybe anyone has video, dash cam video, surveillance video. All of that would be really valuable to investigators. At this point, there's no description of the suspects. Over to you.
All right. Thank you, Courtney. We're following a developing situation in St. Jamestown after a gas main break. At around 11 a.m., police say an excavator hit a gas main near Bleecker Street and Wellesley. They say homes are being evacuated from the area and road closures are in place along Wellesley from Sherbourne to Parliament. Motorists and pedestrians are being diverted. There's no word on any potential injuries as first responders remain at the scene. Still to come this noon hour, we're live over Queen's Park where provincial employees are protesting the government's plan to force workers back to the office. The calls to continue hybrid and remote work. We'll take you there coming up. And we have more news in a moment, but first there's a live look at the city this afternoon. A mixture of sun and cloud today, very warm and humid. Believe it or not, summer is almost over, but you wouldn't think so today. Feels like midsummer. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current conditions, and it's just getting warmer and warmer.
It has been, Nathan, and you're right. It does not feel as though fall is right around the corner. We are currently at 25 degrees here in the city of Toronto. It feels like 28, and we've got a ways to go before we reach our forecast daytime high. Warm, in fact, right around the Golden Horseshoe. Winds, as they've been much of this week, are very light in nature. So today you're not going to find much relief from a breeze. On the satellite and radar, a little more cloud today compared to the last several days. It's been a beautiful run of sun, and today is still mostly bright. We're forecasting an afternoon high of 28 degrees. It's going to feel like 33 at the height of the day. We are watching for a cold front that could bring us a late day shower, and then it's going to cool us down for tomorrow. So we'll take you through the forecast into the weekend coming up. For now, Michelle, over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. To Queen's Park now, where provincial employees are protesting the government's plans to force workers back to the office.
Demonstrators are calling on the government to maintain flexibility in the workplace. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris is live with the latest. Siobhan.
Well, this is a pushback to a directive that came directly from Doug Ford about 3 weeks ago, saying that as of January 5th, tens of thousands of public servants for the province of Ontario need to be back in the office 5 days a week. I'll get out of the way so you can sort of see what we are looking at. This is a demonstration, a protest that's brought up hundreds of people pouring out of downtown office buildings. They say that they deserve flexibility in their work schedules. One of the unions represented here says, look, our members have been having that flexibility in their schedules way before COVID, when it became really widespread. This is something that's been in a factor for them for 15 years, and so they don't understand the reason that this is becoming an issue for the Premier now. The Premier has said that he believes things like mentorship can't happen over a phone or through a computer screen. The president of the union, though, says that's just not the case, that they've been managing those sorts of tasks well with a mixture of remote and in-person work, and he doesn't see why that would change in this post-COVID period. More than 14,000 members have signed a petition saying that they believe that this flexibility in work should be maintained. They are hoping that the government will have a change of heart, but Doug Ford has really dug in on this and also encouraged other employers, other municipalities to do the same. We have seen municipalities like Ottawa and Brampton follow suit, pushing their workers to return full-time. Right now, workers are required to be in the office 3 days a week. That will move to 4 later this fall. And again, as of January 5th, they'll have to be in the office 5 days a week, January 5th. Workers here are hoping to send a message to the government that remote work is working well for them and it should be an option, and that there's just no need to make this change. Reporting live, I'm Siobhan Morris. Michelle and Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. The annual citywide prayer walk is happening this afternoon. Chief Myron Demke will join faith leaders and community members for the walk in 32 Division, beginning at the Lawrence Heights Community Center at 2 p.m. The walk is modeled after the Etobicoke strategy, where each month for the past 20 years, police and faith leaders walk through neighborhoods in 23 Division to meet the community, build relationships, and engage in prayer. The walks will take place in several areas across the city and are open to members of all communities and faiths.
Some residents in Vaughan say they're concerned about coyotes in the region, saying the situation is, quote, out of control. Video from a driveway surveillance camera shows a pack of coyotes seeming to fight over something on the ground. At first, there are 3, but at least 5 more join in. The problem seems to be most concentrated in the area in the Thornhill area of Vaughan. Of the 386 coyote sightings in the city so far this year, 240 have been in that area, up from 77 2 years ago. And this footage from a home in the Bathurst and Clark Avenue area shows a coyote try to get a little dog on a deck in the backyard. The homeowner tells CTV she is afraid to walk her dog in the area, but if she does, she carries pepper spray and a baseball bat. The city of Vaughan has had a coyote strategy since 2022 that focuses on public education. Staff say the program is working, even though coyote sightings have increased since then. The local councillor says more needs to be done.
Back in York Region, dramatic video of a series of home invasions in Vaughan over the last few weeks. Now, 3 suspects are in custody and facing charges, while the search continues for 2 others. CTV's Janice Golding has the details.
York Regional Police have arrested a trio of men following an investigation dubbed Project Timer, an investigation launched following a series of what police are calling brazen home invasions. In this first incident captured on surveillance video, you can see a group approaching a home on Timber Creek Boulevard near Major Mackenzie Drive west in Vaughan. And then you see them smash through a glass panel on the side of the front door to break in, as the home's occupants scream in fear, telling them to leave.
They used actually the front of the gun, the barrel, to essentially break through that pane of glass.
The men would eventually flee to a black SUV with nothing in their hands.
Unknown what they were after at this point.
And then again at 2:20 a.m. on September 10th, a group of men break into another home on Timber Creek Boulevard, smashing through a pane of glass beside the main door with a large axe. But then they appear to flee to a waiting black SUV, once again empty-handed.
In that case as well, they were unsuccessful. But again, you can imagine being woken up to such a chaotic and scary incident where people are coming into your house armed with weapons.
And then today, this time near Yorkley and Scarlett Road in Toronto, 5 people were seen leaving the suspect vehicle.
And we're preparing to do a home invasion, but fortunately the investigators were able to intervene. 3 suspects were arrested at the scene and 2 fled.
A loaded firearm was located in the home's backyard, and the suspect vehicle, which was stolen, was also seized. 22-year-old Zachary Boyce of no fixed address, 21-year-old Jaquai Montague from Toronto, and 22-year-old Jaquel Watson from Ajax are facing numerous firearms-related charges. Police adding Montague and Boyce were on previous release orders in connection with unrelated incidents. The investigation continues. Janice Golding, CTV News.
Turning to housing, the mayor and the chief planner spoke about recently approved provincial changes that allow taller buildings to be built near transit stations.
The approval supports the city's housing plan, which includes providing more housing options. CTV's Sean Leithong is live at City Hall with more on this. Sean.
Well, Michelle and Nathan, this new plan, according to Mayor Chow, would triple the amount of homes that could be built within the city over the next coming years. And with that focus on transit stations, they would allow more density, meaning higher buildings in the area, say as high as 6 stories within a 200-meter walk of major transit stations. And in some instances, when it be close to a subway or other GO stations, it could be as high as 30 stories. Now, they got permission from the province to do this without changing zoning, but this still does have to go through committee, and they're setting a very ambitious timeline to have it done possibly by next spring. Now, here's Mayor Chow talking about what this could mean and what has to be done within the city.
We absolutely have to build more homes that people can afford faster. And by giving as of right approval, it means that the home builders can come in and say, and it's predictable, you know what is happening in your neighborhood. Right? You can tell. So then come in, go straight and do site plan and just skip that very long and expensive process to do rezoning. We call it OPA, official plan amendment. That takes a long time and it costs quite a bit of money. That means that ordinary people can even, if you have a single family home, if you want to build it a bit higher, you might be able to secure some funding so you can age in dignity in your own neighborhood. So it's something that's, I think, should be welcomed.
Now, these areas they've identified are across the city around major transit stations and major transit stations which will come online, like the Ontario line and, of course, the Crosstown Eglinton LRT. Now, as mentioned, they said it could possibly triple the amount of homes that are built over the next couple of years, or several years, that is. Originally, under the previous administration, it would be 500,000 homes they were planning to have be built within the city. That could be as high as 1.5 million. As I said, it has to go through committee, and they're hoping to get this going by spring 2026. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leithong. Nathan, I'll send it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Sean. 7 people remain at Dufferin Grove Park after city staff attempted to encourage them to move to indoor shelter spaces. The city issued trespass notices last Friday to the people living in the park near Dufferin and Bloor. The notices order them to vacate the park by yesterday morning or face removal. City staff say they're working with residents in the park and providing shelter arrangements. The 7 people remaining refused those offers from the city.
U.S. President Donald Trump and the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer met today to discuss a wide array of issues and map out a new technology deal. For the latest on Trump's visit to the UK, we bring in CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbon, who joins us live now from London, England. Joy, hello. What is on the agenda today, and how's it going so far?
Hi, Michelle. How you doing? It was a real royal rollout for Donald Trump yesterday, and the pomp didn't stop with the lavish banquet yesterday. There was a flyby with the red arrows. Donald Trump was piped in by Scottish bagpipers when he met with the British Prime Minister. But the big question was a lot of these diplomatic minefields, questions about Palestine, Gaza, questions about Ukraine. Will Donald Trump still support Ukraine? And also questions about Jeffrey Epstein. When we were here, there were pictures of the convicted sex offender broadcast images on the walls of the castle. So they managed to dodge a lot of those questions, but it was interesting because here in Britain, the UK is about to express support for a Palestinian state. The first question went to Donald Trump, what he thought about that in this press conference, and Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister, jumped in and answered for him, saying, look, we want the hostages out, we want peace. The only thing that Donald Trump would say, because they have a very friendly relationship, these unlikely politicians, the only thing he would say is, well, we don't disagree on much, but we do disagree on that score. So this royal soft power that was deployed yesterday and part of today has really worked. Donald Trump was glowing today. He loves Great Britain, loves the royals, and they went away with, as you say, a pretty big business deal.
And as you say, I mean, Trump getting treated to the full royal treatment. But while all this has been happening, there have been protests, people expressing their displeasure with this visit yet again. What have you seen today? And I would imagine there's lots of security involved.
Yeah, I mean, it was a massive security operation. I think the police were saying it was the biggest in recent memory. Police on the streets of Windsor patrolling over air, no drones allowed, a no-fly zone, the River Thames. But yes, a large group of protesters yesterday in central London, something like 10,000. They're outraged about many things. They're outraged about Gaza. This what they call the president's divisive policies on immigration. And there were a smattering of protesters outside Windsor Castle yesterday, but not a lot of protests today. The president is actually helicoptering out. He will pick up the First Lady and back to the White House. All of this happening in just 48 hours, Michelle.
Wow, CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbon reporting live from London. We'll see you back in D.C. Take care. Well, the Prime Minister is on his way to Mexico City to sign an agreement with his counterpart there. Mark Carney left Ottawa this morning for talks with the Mexican leader as both countries brace for a renegotiation of the continental trade deal with the United States. The two leaders will sign an agreement focusing on infrastructure, trade, security, and other priorities. CTV's Judy Trin has more on that.
Prime Minister Mark Carney's whirlwind 36-hour visit to Mexico City to meet with President Claudia Sheinbaum comes at a pivotal moment. The Trump administration has officially started public consultations on CUSMA. This is the first step in renegotiating the North American trade agreement. Trump wants a new treaty that drives more manufacturing and investment into the U.S., allowing it to compete with China. Now, both Mexico and Canada have been hit hard by U.S. tariffs. They want to increase trade with each other. Trade between the two countries reached $56 billion last year. On this trip, Carney and Sheinbaum are expected to sign a new trade and security pact. They will commit to more cooperation at the highest levels of government to address the issues such as trafficking of drugs, guns, and humans. But there will be a focus on expanding exports. There will be discussions about aligning priorities so that both countries can negotiate from a stronger position when the talks open into a new trilateral agreement. CUSMA expires June of next year. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
Jimmy Kimmel's late night show has been taken off the air indefinitely over recent comments he made about the killing of Charlie Kirk.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger points.
Jimmy Kimmel stays, Trump must go! Jimmy Kimmel stays, Trump must go!
Demonstrators gathered outside the theater where the show is taped. The Walt Disney-owned broadcaster said it was canceling the show after one affiliate said it would replace it. The head of the FCC had urged broadcasters to stop airing the show. And for the latest on this, I'm joined by CTV's Scott Hurst. Scott, what is really behind this move?
Nathan, good afternoon. Of course, Jimmy Kimmel, a mainstay in that time slot. He had been in that time slot for many years, and of course, a very popular and well-known comedian in the U.S. and very familiar to Canadian viewers as well. ABC, which is owned by Disney, as you said, confirming it has indefinitely pulled Jimmy Kimmel live in response to comments he made about Charlie Kirk, criticizing Republicans for how they responded to Kirk's killing. ABC's move came just hours after the Federal Communications Commission chair, the FCC, threatened to take action against Disney and ABC over Kimmel's remarks. And Nexstar Media, which is a large TV and media provider across the country, Nexstar operates 23 ABC affiliates, said it would stop airing the show on dozens of its platforms. And the president of Nexstar calling Kimmel's comments about Kirk's death, quote, offensive and insensitive at a critical time in our national political discourse. Nathan.
And Scott, political satire has always been an important part of free speech. What has the reaction been?
Yeah, many are raising questions now about free speech, and we're getting a lot of reaction in the U.S. and in Canada as well. Most notably, U.S. President Donald Trump, as he was on that trip to the United Kingdom. He spoke about Jimmy Kimmel while at a press conference with Keir Starmer of the United Kingdom. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Well, Jimmy Kimmel was fired because he had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you know, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent.
And also on social media earlier to those comments, Trump saying that this is great news for America, congratulating ABC. And then in that same social media post, calling out NBC, saying it should also do the same to Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers, two comics who also often joke about U.S. President Donald Trump. Now, we should also point out both Disney and Nexstar have FCC business ahead of them. That's the Federal Communications Commission. Both need regulatory approval and therefore a go-ahead from the Trump administration. And, of course, all of this following the summer cancellation of CBS's Late Show with Stephen Colbert, another Trump critic, CBS citing financial reasons for axing the late-night comedy show, but a decision that Trump also celebrated online in the summertime. And some critics have wondered if his stance on Trump played a role in his show getting canceled. Soon after the Colbert cancellation was announced, the FCC approved a long-pending deal with CBS parent company Paramount. Nathan.
All right, CTV Scott Hurst in the CTV National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
Here at home, the Daily Bread Food Bank kicked off its annual Thanksgiving drive today with a warning about skyrocketing need across the city. Last year, food banks across Toronto saw 3.75 million visits, and Daily Bread says those numbers are on track to exceed 4 million this year. That would be 5 times pre-pandemic levels. CEO Neil Hetherington says the rising cost of living has left more families with no other choice but to turn to the Daily Bread for help.
We can wallow in those depressing stats, or we can join this army of good and do something positive about it. And this fall, we are doing something positive about it. We are asking the City of Toronto to collect food and drop it off at any fire hall. We want to get some £250,000 pounds of food delivered to the community. We need to raise about $4 million just in this fall campaign. Daily Bread used to spend $1.5 million a year feeding the City of Toronto. Now we have to spend some $22 million a year purchasing food so that we can make sure that every person who arrives at a Daily Bread food bank receives 3 days worth of food.
So you heard it. Get food to your fire hall. The food drive runs through to the end of October. Lindsay.
Well, it is hot. It is humid out there today. It's going to feel into the 30s this afternoon. The warmest weather today can be found around the Niagara Peninsula and into the GTA. Once again, we're forecasting a high of 28 degrees in Toronto. Interestingly enough, that's not record warmth. We would have to climb higher than 32 degrees in order to potentially break that record. And there is a cool down in store as we head into the weekend. We'll show you when temps will be in the teens after this.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Well, more sunshine, and really it's quite hot today, getting up to, nearing 30 degrees. When you talk about the humidity, that sure is something. You do wonder if it might be a little unsettled, though.
You're right, but it's really back to midsummer routine as far as air conditioning and shorts and T-shirts and wearing light clothes, all that stuff.
Absolutely. At least for today, things might change a little bit into tomorrow and then into the weekend. You might be putting that sweater back on, so that's your tease for what's coming. And it's true, what Michelle said. It looks like it could be a little unsettled out there. We do have a little more cloud today than we've had the last few days. So while it is the hottest day of the week, I debate whether or not it's the nicest day of the week, because we do anticipate a little less sunshine and the chance of a shower this afternoon. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. We did have sunshine early this morning. There's the sunrise as it happened right around 7 a.m. The city looking great. The increase in cloud cover has happened really just in the last couple of hours now, and we suspect that it might end up being a mostly cloudy afternoon with a window of opportunity for a quick passing shower. Before we get to that, I want to update you on the tropics. We've talked about how quiet the Atlantic hurricane season has been lately. Well, now we have Tropical Storm Gabrielle. So right now it still looks as though it's going to be a miss for land for most areas, but heads up Bermuda, the storm could be a Category 1 hurricane by the time it approaches the island. So we'll continue to monitor that over the next few days. It is 27 degrees now in Toronto. It feels like 30 with several hours of daytime heating to go. Into this evening, you can expect that it is still going to be hot and humid. So if the kids are still playing baseball, soccer, cricket, you may want to bring an extra bottle of water. Make sure everyone's staying cool and hydrated out there, even into the evening hours. Overnight tonight, our temperature is going to be somewhere around 14 degrees. We're actually going to cool a little further as we make our way into tomorrow morning. And this, I think, is a noticeable enough difference. 21 is our forecast high for tomorrow afternoon, much closer to seasonal. The norm this time of year is 20. And while we do suspect that there will be some cloud cover first thing in the morning, it is expected to clear as the day goes on. Teen temperatures for some as early as tomorrow, including Orangeville, Kincardine, Vaughan and Burlington likely to be into the 20s, but Port Perry, 19 is your forecast daytime high for tomorrow. So if you like the heat, enjoy today. If you're ready for more of a crisp feel in the air that is more traditional with early fall, just wait a day or two. Here's our current satellite and radar. As mentioned, we have seen a little more cloud cover. Here's our chance of showers. Very isolated in nature. Not everyone is going to experience this. Most areas will stay dry, but late afternoon and early evening, chance of a quick passing sprinkle of rain And then, as mentioned, we get some clearing into Friday afternoon. Saturday looks sunny, but it also appears to be a cooler day overall. So this time we're talking teen temperatures around the GTA too. Lots of sunshine, back up around 22 degrees for Sunday. Looks like we could see a little more cloud in through the early part of next week. Chance of showers for Monday and Tuesday, but some milder air as well. A reminder that on Monday we officially welcome fall at 2:19 p.m. Michelle and Nathan, back to you.
There's still summer left, Lindsay. Little Canada is getting a big addition in celebration of Sick Kid's 150th birthday. Canada's first pediatric hospital is getting its own place in the miniature display, and it's all being unveiled today. And that's where we find our Jessica Smith with more. Jess.
Michelle, it is so cool. Every single time I come here, you notice something different. In this particular circumstance, is for a really great cause. We're celebrating Sick Kids, which we know has a long history, not only in our city, but in the country. Jean-Louis, you are the founder of Little Canada. You guys have done so much to show Canada from coast to coast to coast, iconic landscapes and buildings. But talk to me about the Sick Kid collaboration, because the building itself, the display, is mind-blowing.
Well, I'm really excited about it because right from the beginning, I've always wanted to have a hospital in Little Canada, and it had to be Sick Kids. There was no doubt about it. And with them now celebrating the 150th anniversary, it was the perfect moment to integrate Sick Kids into our world. Not only permanently, but also we've built their history through the beginning when they first started 150 years ago.
There's such specific detail. There's Ryan Reynolds is inside. He had his campaign with Sick Kids. We see a couple of different stories of individual patients and what it's like. Why did you want to include some of those real personal touches into this display?
Well, because that's all what Canada's all about. It's a country that was built on people's stories, and the best way to convey Canada is through storytelling and through individual storytelling.
I feel like every single time I come here, I see something different, and Little Canada continues to grow and grow and grow. And this one in particular is so special because Sick Kids has such an iconic place, not only in the city, but in the country. And it's a world-class destination for care. And this is a world-class destination for learning about the country. What's next for Little Canada? I know you guys are continuing to grow and grow and grow, but this feels really big, and I don't really know how you top something like this, but what's next for you guys?
Well, what's next is we're going to open our 8th destination, which is Little North, which will include the 3 territories of Canada. So we got the 10 provinces, as everyone knows, and then what's important is also to tell the stories of the 3 territories and the North Pole.
I feel like I get lost every single time I come here. Thank you so much for sharing and continuing to grow. I will say thank you, say goodbye for now. We're going to send things back to the studio. And just a fun fact, I'm in one of the displays here. I'll maybe show you guys videos later, but I'll send things back inside to you.
Real? I cannot wait to see that. Thank you, Jess. Coming up, from excruciating movements to full mobility, how a new form of therapy is helping restore function in people's joints, and in some cases, reversing degeneration. A new form of therapy is promising to stop the decline and in some cases even reverse the degeneration in people's joints.
As our health reporter Pauline Chan explains, it takes components from our fatty tissues and injects them back where they're needed.
It was a cycling accident that badly fractured Alex Sadowski's left ankle. He had 2 surgeries, rehab, and was supposed to be healed, but chronic pain had set in.
Everybody started telling me, oh, you should have relief, things should be fine. Go work out, go on a walk, do these things, and within 20 minutes, 10 minutes, depending on the activity, I would be gassed out and in pain.
Then last year, he was referred to Dr. Adrian Lee and tried a new treatment called regenerative matrix therapy.
And the concept is we're taking a patient's own fat tissue and injecting it to an area where there's needed because of damage in order to restore function, improve mobility.
It's a bit like platelet-rich plasma therapy, but much more directed. Fatty tissue from the abdomen is processed for an hour, and Dr. Lee says they're not exactly sure which components in the tissue are the ones that work to prevent cartilage degeneration, but they work.
Many different things. We have endothelial cells, fibroblasts, mesenchymal stem cells, and many other types of cells, and growth factors and extracellular matrix that we use.
The treatment can be used on shoulders, ankles, hips, and especially on knees.
The best candidates for regenerative matrix therapy tend to be patients who have moderate osteoarthritis, but are otherwise active and want to stay active.
At one time, these movements would have been excruciating for Alex. Now he has full mobility in his ankle.
100% is tough to gauge after being in chronic pain for so long, but I will definitely say I've never felt this level of freedom since before the accident.
The procedure is not covered by OHIP and can cost several $1,000s per injection. Only one shot is needed, and the effects have lasted up to 4 years in some cases.
Right now, there are 3 clinics in Ontario performing regenerative matrix therapy, and one more opening soon in Calgary. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
A new report shows nearly 300,000 Ontarians left an emergency room without getting treatment over the last year. The figures were compiled by think tank MEI based on figures gathered from information requests from the provinces. Out of almost 6 million emergency room visits across Ontario in 2024, about 4.9% of patients left before they were treated, or more than 292,000. As big as that number does sound, it was the lowest proportion among all the provinces, excluding Saskatchewan, which didn't provide data. PEI saw more than 14% of emergency room visitors leave untreated, followed by Manitoba and New Brunswick at around 13%. MEI's report warns patients who face delays in treatment or avoid it often end up suffering from worsening conditions, leading to more complex consequences.
A new report suggests Canada's short-term targets for reducing its emissions are now out of reach after levels remained unchanged last year. The Canadian Climate Institute finds national greenhouse gas emissions for 2024 totaled 694 million tons. Canada has committed to reducing its emissions from 40 to 45% below 2005 levels by 2030, but we're now only about 8.5% lower. To reach its target, we would need to lower emissions by 40 million tons a year, and the Climate Institute says that's not possible.
The Canadian Screen Awards have announced a major change in their eligibility rules for next year. The awards recognize our country's top talent in the film, television, and digital sectors. The Academy of Canadian Cinema and Television now says nominees will now only be eligible for awards in 2026 if they hold Canadian citizenship or permanent residency. Screen Actors Union ACTRA welcomed this move, saying it comes at a time when Canada's cultural sovereignty is under pressure. The Academy tells CTV News it took the step in consultation with the creative community, adding, "This change reflects our ongoing commitment to recognizing and uplifting Canadian talent, ensuring that the Canadian Screen Awards continue to shine a much-deserved spotlight on our incredibly talented creators." Still to come on CTV News at noon, many shoppers are trying to buy Canadian amidst the trade war with the U.S., but there's a new deception being called maple washing. We'll have those details after the break.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Amid trade tensions with the U.S., many shoppers are going out of their way to buy Canadian products, even if the prices might be slightly higher.
But some major grocery stores are being accused of maple washing, meaning they're claiming some products are Canadian when they're actually not. CTV's Pat Foran has this consumer alert.
You see them all over grocery store aisles and shelves, maple leaves, made in Canada labels, or signage urging you to buy Canadian. Dave, a Toronto shopper who asked us to hide his identity as he searches for misleading advertising, just noticed 2 questionable products.
We saw that a bag of onions were mislabeled and the green beans were also mislabeled.
Dave found green beans for sale marked as a product of Canada, but on closer inspection on the bag it says product of Guatemala. In another case, he saw a bag of red onions for sale, also sold as a product of Canada. Not the case. On the bag, it says product of Egypt.
We've seen many cases where the maple leaf was used to inflate prices, and frankly, a lot of products were labeled in a way that it was actually quite misleading.
Following complaints, a Quebec law firm has filed a class action lawsuit against major grocery chains, including Provigo, Sobeys, Metro, and Walmart.
This is actually false representation or false advertising.
Lawyer Joey Zucron says grocers are using false advertising to take advantage of consumers who want to support Canadian products.
The only conclusion is that it's to make profit, and it's to take advantage of vulnerable consumers who are at a disadvantage vis-a-vis the information that the grocer has.
The class action seeks compensation for customers. Sylvain Charlebois says earlier in the year there was labeling confusion and adjustments required time, but he says by now mislabeling should be considered unacceptable.
There's just zero tolerance for this now.
Dave says he plans to keep looking for maple washing errors because he wants to support Canadian producers.
We personally want to support these local Canadian farmers. I want to make sure that the product I'm getting is actually from Canada.
The class action has been filed, but has not yet been authorized in court. Pat Foran, CTV News.
Drivers will notice a drop at the pumps as stations make the switch over to a cheaper blend of what's known as winter gasoline. Much of the province saw a roughly 10-cent drop overnight. Gas stations are required to use the summer blend from mid-April through to mid-September. Higher prices in the U.S. and the Canadian dollar have been factors in keeping prices up this summer. Dan McTague, president of Canadians for Affordable Energy, says it looks like there could be a further 1 to 2 cent drop in gas prices at the end of the week.
It's been a good day on the stock market on both sides of the border, with a rally driven largely by tech stocks. This follows news of a new partnership between two U.S. tech giants, NVIDIA and Intel. Intel was up more than 25%, on pace for its best day since 1987, after NVIDIA said it would buy $5 billion worth of the chip's maker's stock. Now, the companies also outlined plans to work together on products for data centers and personal computers. This follows a move by the U.S. government taking a stake in Intel. NVIDIA was up more than 2% while holding on to its spot as Wall Street's most valuable company.
In sports, the American League leading Blue Jays were looking to make it 7 wins in a row, taking on the Rays last night in Tampa.
And that's through into right center, a base hit. And Williams will race home with a go-ahead run.
With the game tied at 1, the Rays took the lead with that hit in the 7th inning, and that would be all they needed, going on to win the game 2-1. The Jays will look to get back in the win column, wrapping up the series this afternoon. First pitch is at 1:10.
The Toronto Maple Leafs are on the ice today as training camp officially begins. The Leafs will be looking to repeat as Atlantic Division champions and play deeper into the postseason after being ousted in round 2 by the Florida Panthers. They, of course, will have to do that without Mitch Marner, who's now with Vegas. But there have been some new additions to the lineup, and top prospect Easton Cowan will be working to earn a roster spot.
One of the greatest Canadians to ever grace a curling rink has announced his retirement.
This will be my final year in competitive curling. For me, this is about my family and my team. My wife and daughters are important to me, and I've missed enough milestones to know I don't want to miss any more. For my team, your commitment, friendship, and drive are what made all this possible for me.
Brad Gushue led Canada to Olympic gold in 2006 and bronze in 2022. He also won a record 6 men's national titles and a world championship. The skip from St. John's, Newfoundland, and his team have already qualified for the 2026 Brier in his hometown and are set to compete in November's Olympic trials in Halifax. Short break, more when we return. Simons is opening the doors at its newest location today, the Eaton Centre. This is a look inside the new location of the Quebec-based retailer. It's the company's 19th location in Canada and its second new Toronto store this year. The company says together with the Yorkdale Shopping Centre, it's invested about $100 million in Toronto, creating approximately 400 new jobs in the GTA. The CEO of Simons, Bernard Leblanc, spoke about why he thinks the retailer will be more successful than some of its predecessors.
We have always taken a very cautious approach to our expansion. It has been done with a lot of intent, a lot of reliance on data and on what the customers have been telling us. We are both strong digitally as well as physically. My mantra is really about discovery in store and convenience online. The intent is to be strong in both. These Toronto locations for us build proximity to our client. That's what we are all about. There's a human connection to be had in store with our associates. We've put together an amazing group of professionals here to welcome our guests. I'm very excited about the opportunity to serve Toronto.
And this store officially opened at 9:30 this morning. Happy shopping.
Yeah, good to know. So not a heat alert, but we're almost close to it.
It feels like at this time of year, it could be considered a heat alert. It's true. We're already at 27 degrees in Toronto. We expect the temperature to climb from here because, well, there's still plenty of hours of daytime heating to go. Here's one more look at where we stand currently. Again, our official forecast high is 28 degrees, feeling like 33. So let's see where we land this afternoon. Overnight tonight, 14 is what we're forecasting overnight. There's tomorrow's school day forecast. Bit of cloud in the morning, sunshine through the afternoon, but noticeably cooler. Back to the light sweater or light jacket option for the kids. And then the weekend, Saturday filled with sunshine, but cooler as well. We'll be milder again Sunday and through the early part of next week. Nathan and Michelle.
Thank you, Lindsay. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.